Hi, and welcome to today's episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. And I'm honored to have today Charlie Aldis, who is the co-owner of Maven IT. And if you're a franchise owner and running into some technical issues here or there, and I'll let Charlie expound on it, you really need to pay attention to this video. Charlie can make your life a whole lot easier. So, Charlie, welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here.
Outstanding. Now, let's dive right into it.
Sure.
How do you make life easier for franchise owners? Because everybody needs tech nowadays. What do you do with it?
Sure. Yeah. As you said, tech has become more and more important in any business. With the franchise locations, very important. If you walk into any franchise location, just look around, you'll see, you see Wi-Fi access points, you see security cameras, you see, point of sale systems, digital signage, phones, all that. You can't really run a brick and mortar franchise without these things. So what Maven IT has done, traditionally or historically, most franchisees are kind of left on their own to procure this stuff, So the franchisors, they do want you to have this technology, but that's kind of where it ends, and you have to go out and get it yourself. You know, Historically, most franchisees they go to the internet or cable company for their internet and maybe their phones. They go to somebody else for their cameras. They have to use the point of sale system that's mandated by the brand. Generally they'll use the Wi-Fi that comes with the internet, or they'll use someone else do their managed Wi-Fi, and so on and so on. So you have all these disparate providers for your technology. And the problem is technology needs to all work together. It needs to work over a network, right? And that network needs to be secure. So there's a lot that goes on in there. And when you do it yourself, and do it yourself means going out and procuring it from these different providers, that presents a problem. You think about us. One story we always tell is everyone's always walked, I'm sure everyone has walked into a coffee shop, and, the line's kind of going out the door. And right away, you know what that means. It means that the credit card, processing isn't working, right? So what do? If you're in the back of the line, it's not moving, you generally are going to go find another coffee shop for that day. And maybe that becomes your new coffee shop, because once you leave, and customers walk out, you don't always get them back. And what's going on behind the scenes, people don't realize, is the general manager for that store is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's calling first he calls the point of sale company. They say it's not us. Everything looks fine here. Then he makes another call to the internet company. And you know what that's like. You're on hold forever trying to navigate their phone system. You finally get to somebody. They don't have authority to do anything. They just say, look, the internet looks fine. It's not that. It must be your network. And you're calling, then you call, whoever installed your low voltage cabling or any of the network equipment, and you're jumping all over the place, and you're trying to diagnose this problem. So what Maven IT, since we provide and manage all of the technology in the store, and we have very good remote monitoring and management capabilities, generally by the time it takes you to diagnose a problem, we already have it fixed or sooner, because we can see it remotely. In most cases, we actually see the problem coming before you do. And a lot of our customers, we fix problems they don't even know they had. So it really is, it eliminates downtime or greatly reduces downtime, which, will kill your revenues for at least for that day, for the, the franchise location. And, you think about the opportunity cost of the general manager having to deal with technology problems all the time, is taking his eye off the ball, running the business, whether you're making coffee or giving haircuts or making smoothies or whatever. People don't go into that to manage technology. So we make, in that scenario, we make people's lives easier by, proactively monitoring, managing the technology. And if there is a problem that comes up, 95% of the time we resolve it remotely. In that 5% that we can't resolve it remotely, it's usually some sort of network issue, cabling or something. We can dispatch a technician. We have customers right now in 32 states. We can get them out anywhere. They go out and fix it. So really is an all-in-one comprehensive solution. And that's just for, stores that have opened, are already open. For when you're opening a new location, anyone who's opened a new franchise location knows how much technology is part of that store opening project plan. And you have so many other things to worry about, build out and hire, recruiting, hiring, marketing, all this stuff. And in the middle of that is all this technology, which, most franchises, they don't know, they're not technologists. They know very little about. And again, if they have to go out and procure this from all these different providers, that's a lot of work. You're following up with people. not to mention the difficulty of even procuring internet service. You know what that's like. It takes forever, and you got to coordinate with them and try to get them to come there when it's a time that fits the general contractor's timeline and all that. So at store openings, we make it much easier. We estimate about 1/3 to 40% of that store opening project plan is technology related now. We take that burden off of you. We manage the whole thing, working in conjunction with your general contractor and getting the technology procured, configured, installed, set up, and working, and then we manage it ongoing as well. So, really two ways we can make things life easier for franchisees, and it's new store openings, and then it's keeping things running and operational after you open.
You said something really interesting, though, that a lot of times you can see the problem before the franchise will even know that it's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What challenge does that present to you?
We look at it as an opportunity to, show that there's a better way of managing technology. So what, we have, so when we manage a technology at a location, we put in our network equipment. One of those pieces is a firewall, which everyone needs. And that firewall allows us to view the whole network, right? One of the number one reasons why there are technology problems at a location is the internet connection. Internet is not always stable. Everyone knows that. I mean, you just think about your house when you're streaming video and then, internet goes down and it's frustrating and all that, right? I mean, that's just internet by its nature, and Wi-Fi um, as well isn't always the most reliable thing. And there's a million reasons for that. With our remote monitoring capabilities, and this is just one example, we can see when the internet's starting to have some issues, right? So you'll see things like packet loss and um, you know uh, jitter and things like that that happen. Data loss, packet loss, things like that that happen over the internet connection. We can see that happening, and our remote monitoring capability actually informs our Michigan-based help desk that, hey, there's some issues going on at this location. Um, we can go in and remediate it before it becomes a problem. Sometimes it involves rebooting the modem, something as simple as that. Sometimes it's something else. It could be another equipment, kind of down the network a little bit, but we can really isolate the issue, fix it, keep things working, and a lot of times we do it, be so behind the scenes that the store never even notices it's the problem. So,
But I see that it does bring up a challenge because when people pay for something, especially a service like yours that's a monthly fee, I imagine is
mhm,
what you charge.
correct.
Um, how do they understand the value that you're giving to them if they never see the problem to begin with?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a very real problem we're faced with. When we do our jobs well, they kind of forget we're there, right? So, early on, we can show our value very explicitly. In opening a store, we come and we manage the project and all that, and it's like, oh, you guys did a good job. It was great. After about 3 months, things stabilize. We're still doing our thing, but you're not seeing it. So, a lot of times, especially this time of year, kind of you go from November through, end of January, early February, people are looking at budgets and what we're paying for and all that. And this time of year, we always get calls like, "What do you guys do for us again?" And that's in a way, it's good to hear that because it shows that we've been doing our jobs. But from our company standpoint, it really is a challenge because, how do we keep reminding our customers of our ongoing value? So we have started sending, like monthly and quarterly reports. Here's all the network issues we remediated for you. Here's all the cyber threats, which is a whole nother, ball of wax. Especially lately. And we kind of give a one-page little dashboard report that says, here's the threats we mitigated, here's the problems we solved, here's how many times you called in, the tickets we completed, and all that. And just to keep the franchisee reminded that there's some value out of this service. You know, that's been one of the problems with Maven. We grew fast enough. We're managing 1,100-ish locations in about 32 states. So and that growth has happened over the last 4.5 years. So when you grow that fast, you kind of have to catch up. We just recently hired a director of what we call customer loyalty, which is, to me, I view it as like account management 2.0. And we hired a real professional in that field to kind of manage our customer base. And part of that management of the customer base is letting them know the value we provide, which we've done I think a poor job of. So we're really focused on that this year, improving it, and trying to find more ways for the customers to understand what we do for them.
Thank you for answering the question. Um, I'm sure you have many, but what's your favorite success story with a client?
My favorite one, and was also one of the most difficult, which made it fun, is this was an existing franchise network of hair salons. And this was the largest franchisee of a very prominent hair salon company. They have several brands underneath them. They owned right around 400 salons, and they'd already been in business, but they were having some very serious technology issues, to the point where the network would go down so often that customers would come and get a haircut and they couldn't pay with a credit card. They would literally leave an IOU saying, "We'll come back and we'll pay you," which is, nice of the customer, to be honest. But you don't want to put them in that position. It's embarrassing as well, to the location. So that's about as bad as it gets, right? So we came in and we literally forklifted all of their technology, including the internet connections. We brokered their new internet for every location, which involved, if I remember correctly, about 11 different internet providers across their salon network. And then we replaced, their network equipment internally, new firewalls, new equipment, put in new phones, new back of the house computers, things of that nature. Did all this for close to 400 locations in about 6 months' time. Prioritize it with and collaborated with the customer, find out which ones were more important than the others. We blasted through it, and 6 months later, they have no technology issues. And, really, the end result, there was a couple good things that came out of it. One was no technology issues, no more IOUs. But the other was the franchisee, this very large multi-unit, multi-brand franchisee, could now assess which salons were really, the true profitability of each salon. That's hard to do when you have such unreliability with your technology. That obviously affects revenue and all that. So you're not getting the real picture of the potential of each salon. So once we remove the variable of technology issues, after a couple of months, they could see this salon does really well. This one doesn't do so well. And some of that could have been from customers leaving because of the problems, so they gave it a little time to come back. But ultimately, the end result was their salons, their business got significantly more profitable because of the removal of technology issues. And some of that included shutting down some salons. I mean, not all locations are created equal. So they did shut some down that were kind of, dragging the rest down. They shored up the other ones. And overall, what they have is, a larger, not just percentage, but dollar net profit number because we solved the technology issues. And then, byproduct of that is the stylists that work at these salons are happier. I mean, they don't want to go there and have to deal with customers that can't process credit card payments or make appointments. I mean, salons' lifeblood is phone appointments, right? So, even their phones weren't working a lot of times. So now these hairstylists can get their customers in there. They can get them to pay. They can get their tips, and now you have a happier employee base too. I mean, that was one of the other bad things that happened is they actually had salons walking out, stylists walking out of the salon saying, "We're not doing this because we can't make any money." So all those problems in a way. So made a big difference, and they're thriving. They're thriving now. So it was great to be a part of that. I love that story.
That's awesome. More and more franchisors are selling their brand um, by saying they have proprietary applications or proprietary technology to entice franchisees. How do you work with the franchisors?
Yeah, first of all, we love working directly with the franchisors too. We have really three ways to get into to help a franchisee open location. One is directly with the franchisee. One is the franchisor recommending us to the franchisees, and that really is a holy grail for us. Is if the brand says, "Hey, if you really don't want to manage your own technology, you might want to look at these guys." And we have some brands that do that every time they have a new franchisee signs an FDD or they have locations. They say, "Why don't you talk to these guys if you want some help?" As far as working with the franchisors, yeah, most of the technology that they use to entice franchisees is, it has to do with, you know, um, just franchise management type applications, right? So, tracking revenue, what time of day, that type of stuff. So you need a solid network. You need a reliable network to do that. And that's where we help, where, we'll work with the franchisee. The more stable the network is for that franchise location, the more they can take advantage of the technology that you created and the applications you created to help them. So that's one way. You let us worry about the remote locations and the remote infrastructure technology. And if that goes well, that opens up all kinds of possibilities for you as a franchisor, to have a stronger brand. I mean, if a franchise brand can say, to a franchisee, we have a company that can help you with your store openings and with your technology. That makes them a stronger brand than someone who says, I'm just going to leave you on your own and you call around and you do whatever. So it strengthens your ability to sell more locations, and obviously more locations mean more revenue, and so on and so on. So, um, once they understand how we help, the brands generally love having us involved. So they'll refer us to their new franchisees and their existing franchisees, and it goes well.
IFA is kicking off today. The conference is out in Phoenix. What conferences have you been to or planning to go to this year that folks can look you up?
I haven't done IFA yet, but I really want to. We're getting there as we expand and have more people have more time to do that. The conferences I like the individual brands conferences for their franchisees, for one, because you get a lot of one-on-one time with the franchisees. So we've gone to quite a few of those. The Smoothie King Franchisee Conference, we've done the Supercuts Franchisee Association Conference, and so on and so on. And those are great because those are, it's like going to a smaller party and there's nowhere to hide. You have to interact with people. Bigger parties, there's places to hide, right? So I imagine IFA is great. I want to do it. But with these smaller, with the brand associated conferences, we get a lot of one-on-one time with franchisees, and that really is our bread and butter. And we can speak to help them solve their problems and speak to their pain points. So we like that, but I also love the multi-unit franchisee conference with the multi-unit franchisee association, because that's our like ideal customer profile, is a multi-unit franchisee, multi-brands even better, because the technology issues really compound exponentially as you add stores. It's not just like when you add your fifth store, it's 5 times having the problem one. It actually goes up because the possibility of a technology issue happening gets greater and greater as you have more locations. That's just technology by its nature, right? So we love those multi-unit franchisee customers that are big enough, where they want someone to manage their technology piece for them, right? But small enough where they don't have their IT group. And all the brands have, they have IT, for the brand, but that's a little different. It just provides a little bit of support for, a few of the things. Having a company that what they call a trusted provider to manage all their technology just really makes their lives easier. So that's why I love that multi-unit conference too. But I'm interested in a lot of them. There's more and more good ones out there. We're definitely going to hit IFA. I'd love to do some of the IFA smaller conferences where they have the operations conference and those type of things.
Mhm.
But we're always looking out for more to go to. So, but this year, quite a few of the brand conferences, and then definitely the multi-unit franchise conference as well. We're hitting them.
And what's your background that's led to Maven IT?
Well, interesting. I won't get too detailed, but born and raised in Detroit, in the city. Um, I needed money for college. My parents were very blue collar. My dad was a butcher. They had 7 kids. They weren't paying for my school, so either I had to get a scholarship, and I goofed off way too much in high school for that. And then, I had to get a scholarship, and then I didn't, so I needed to get a job. There, there was back in the days when there was a long distance industry. Right when they broke up AT&T and all that, there was a lot of these long distance companies popping up, and I just applied for a job to work at a long distance company that had just merged with another company in Chicago, and they're moving everything to Detroit. These people were so desperate they were willing to hire an 18-year-old with no experience, which is what happened. Um, so I started there. My background was actually accounting. I was going to school for accounting. Um, my whole idea was to be a CPA or something like that. Um, so, worked for this long distance company for a while, and in like, I was in the division that managed um, the cost of running the network. So, and that it was, really an accounting like job, an auditing job. From there, I moved up, kept on going to school, working full time. And, for that went on for years. Anyone who's done that knows how difficult that is. Eventually moved up through the company, started getting offers at other telecom companies. Took a job with a company in San Antonio, Texas. So I moved to Texas from Detroit, which was a huge change. Um, from there, a couple of years there, I got another offer at another telecom company and then another, and I ended up at, the executive level. By the time I was 30 in the telecom industry, I was a VP at a $2 billion a year telecom company based in Dallas, which was nice. That went really well. Um, if anyone you know anything about telecom, there's tons of mergers and acquisitions. So I got a lot involved in that side of the world too. Got to use some of my finance and accounting chops in that. I think in the time I was in the telecom industry, I started in '87, and I think in the first 20 years in, I was involved in 13 mergers or acquisitions on one side of the other. So that was, you learn about a lot about business that way, right? Um, I was an executive in telecom industry about 22 years. Um, and then just kind of got tired of the corporate, the corporate game. It got old after a while, and just having meetings about meetings and politics and all that kind of garbage. I finally got tired of it. I left. I started a telecom brokerage and consulting company. And one of the, things are going well. I was doing a lot of consulting for the big telecoms, like so I did work for Spectrum and Comcast, and as a contractor, more from the consulting side. And at the same time, I was brokering large telecom deals between enterprises and telecom companies. There's a whole agent community out there that sells telecom. Doing all that, I ran into a Smoothie King franchisee that got exclusivity to open up exclusivity in Michigan and Ohio to open up a new Smoothie Kings in those locations. And they had already done three, and they were going through exactly what I talked about, getting cameras from one place, network from another place, all this, and they said it's getting to be too much to manage. So they asked if I could help with that. And remember, mine was only a telecom business, so I was helping with the telecom piece, phones and internet and things like that. Uh, I had known a guy, Aaron McCarthy, who founded Maven IT, who had this IT company, and asked if we wanted to help with the IT side. So we ended up helping this franchisee open up their next couple locations. They were thrilled. The next couple deals, Aaron and I both did to get work together with other things. We said, why don't we just combine the companies? Aaron is a technologist and a good businessman, but he was doing everything. He said I could use help on sales and marketing and the finance side. So I took over that. He took over the operations, and we really liked this franchise space. So what we like is one sale leads to many locations. So we started dabbling in that and immersing ourselves in that space. And 4.5, 5 years later, together, like Maven IT is about 5.5 years old. I've been involved for 4.5. So 5.5 years later, as partners, we are in 32 states and are managing about 1,100 franchise locations. So it's kind of, all that experience as, in the telecom industry as an accountant, finance person led to me getting involved in product management. And went from there. Eventually, migrated to or evolved to marketing, product management and marketing, and then sales. So I went from being an 18-year-old desperate for money for school and want to be an accountant to CRO at a managed technology company over the last, well, it's been a long time, more than 35 years now. So,
You said earlier that y'all are growing very quickly.
mhm.
What specific intentional steps are y'all taking to make sure that your customers and clients are taken care of during the growth?
It's a great question. And, you'd think being in business and as an executive for many years, I would have seen this coming. No, I didn't. Um, that's the great thing about business is you never stop learning or being reminded that you don't know everything, right? And which is great. So we grew so fast. We got a couple bottlenecks. Um, First of all, our marketing ability far surpassed our ability to sell, meaning we do a real good job marketing and have people aware of us and engaged, but we just can't get to the leads, right? So step one was to expand our sales team, which we're right in the middle of an expansion plan. We're going to add salespeople around the country. And that the other bottleneck was account management. And I mentioned earlier how we hired this account management professional. that's an important step because, when you look at the priority of things you should do every day, taking care of customers should be at the top of the list. And as we were getting bogged down, I was doing a lot of that and was kind of the de facto account manager, but it just got to be too much. And I really felt like we were not engaging with our customers enough. Even simple things like explaining their bill or, you know, understanding if they have recurring issues and, getting in front of them for that. Or like we said earlier, even explain to them the value we add. And, if you really do it right, you're sitting at the planning table with these customers and helping them with with their future plans and their strategy. And that's what I want. And if you do it really well, they renew their contracts, they buy more from you, and they offer testimonials and referrals, right? To me, that's the holy grail as a customer. That's why we call that function customer loyalty. To me, customer loyalty means more than customer satisfaction, right? It means more than account management. So that's what we want is I would like every customer to renew, buy more, and refer us to, other people. Like that's the ultimate compliment. I really don't want to rest until they're all doing that. I know they never all, never going to be where they all do it, but that's the goal, right? And so the greatest thing about owning your own company is I can hire someone else to worry about that. And so I hire this, account management, customer loyalty professional, and they know that's their charter. And my job is to remove the obstacles so they can achieve that. And, so it feels good to one, help someone along with their career, but even better to know that I got this great, new hire that can really take care of our customer base. So I'm feeling good about it. It's funny. Look, just days before this person was to start, I had a phone call with a customer that said they were gonna, they were thinking about going somewhere else because they didn't understand our value. And as I had the conversation, it was like a script. They just checked off everything I just said. I don't really understand my bill. I don't understand the value provided. And I'm sitting there going, man, we have dropped the ball on this thing. So I said, look, give me a couple months. I'll give you your next 2 months for free. Just let this, that you're a perfect case for this account manager, like, to get her feet wet with our company. And if we can't make you feel better about us in 2 months, then you'll go, I'll let you out of your contract. And I think we're going to keep that account. They were, they grant, well, free 2 months doesn't hurt, but they granted us a little time to fix things. And I guarantee you that's not unique amongst the customer base, right? And, you got to walk that line for, you want to do your job well so they don't have to talk to you, but at the same time, you better let them know how you're helping them and the value you're adding, right? So, um, I got a lot of optimism about the future. And, I know a year from now, we're going to sit back and go, this was a really smart hire. And as the company grows, she can build that function and we can have more account managers and, keep the base happy. So,
Mhm. You're talking about building out your sales staff because
mhm.
that's your bottleneck now. If I'm a multi-unit franchisee in St. Louis with 400 locations, what quality, what level of salesperson are you bringing into Maven?
Yeah. That's another great question. That as we're going through this expansion plan, anyone can build like a model, a financial model. Here's what we think is going to happen with the plan. And, everything looks nice on paper. But then you got to ask questions just like that. Okay, you're planning on hire 6, 7 salespeople. What do these salespeople look like? Right? How tenured are they? That type of thing. And, when I look at that, this was something you know, we went over and over and over again. And you and I talked about this. Like, do I hire someone from the franchise world who understands the franchise space, or do I hire somebody that understands the technology, right? And the perfect answer would be someone who has both. That's going to be an expensive person for one, right? So, and we will look for those people. So we struggle. So, what we're doing is I'm probably going to A/B it like everyone does in marketing. Let's try this and see how it goes. And we built that into the plan, knowing that we're going to have multiple people, and generally with salespeople, one rises to the top, the other one doesn't. We'll see what happens. So we're going to A/B it for one. And if we're going to do the same thing with tenure, um, you take a multi-unit franchisee like you described with 400 locations. This is more than just someone using their retirement money. This is someone who looks at this as a big investment. That's a serious business, 400 locations. It's like selling to an enterprise. So to me, that type of business needs a more tenured, credible salesperson to sell to them. So as we work through this plan, we'll figure that out, or it'll the truth will come out one way or another. I think the answer is probably going to be both. But for the more strategic customers, I tend to want to have a more tenured
Mhm.
salesperson, and probably someone that's from the franchise space because they can speak the language, But we are looking, we budgeted that type of salesperson. We think, with a pretty decent base because someone selling franchises makes good money. So you got to compete with that. Pretty good base salary plus, the ability to make really good commissions. We think at quota we can pay someone, at least 200K a year at quota, combined, and then nowhere to go but up from there, right? So I would like nothing more than all of my salespeople making more money than I do. That would be a good problem to have, and I'm willing to pay it because the return on investment is there. So to answer your question, um, I'm leaning towards the more tenured, but I am willing to try both. And then as far as where they come from, we're willing to try that as well. I think it's Mike Tyson that says that everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. That's plans. Plans are there so you can adapt.
Mhm.
Anyone who's so rigid, this is how we're going to do it. Business doesn't work that way, and as you grind things out, you discover new opportunities and new things to fix and all that. So it's just a plan, which helps you create a budget, which helps you estimate how much money you need to do it and all that. But you better be willing to evolve and adapt, so we know that going into it.
When you and I talk a year from now, what's going to be different with Maven IT?
Wow, that's a great question. I think about this all the time. One, we'll have 6, 7 salespeople, throughout the country in the different regions, the way the franchise world breaks out the regions selling for us. With that, we expect to have many more satisfied multi-unit franchisee clients. Um, I expect that we'll have many more relationships with franchise brands, as we immerse ourselves in that world. Um, the customer base will be aware of our value because we're doing that well. Um, we'll have hired more technicians and more help, more support desk people to support these customers. We'll be a lot bigger. Um, we'll probably need more office space. As one thing, which would be another great problem to have. And we'll be, more important. I think most importantly, I personally plan on being so immersed in the franchise world, right, that people will know who Maven IT is. When they think of technology for franchises, they'll think of us, and that's really what I want to be known as. That company, that these are the guys. If you're going to open up a franchise, go to these guys because they know what they're doing, and they're going to make your life easier.
I'm looking forward to that conversation.
I am too. I am too.
What have I missed today, Charlie, that's important for franchisees and franchisors to know about Maven and you?
I think the main thing is having a trusted technology provider, and I don't even care. I mean, I obviously care if it's Maven, but having that arrow in your quiver as a franchise brand where you can refer this just makes you a stronger brand. We can really help your franchisees be more satisfied. We can make their lives easier and thereby making the franchise brands' lives easier. Um, and more importantly, you can help your franchisees focus on what they did, why they got into it in the first place, not dealing with technology problems. So all that leads to more, I think, opening more locations. I think anyone that wants to start franchising, the whole idea is to get a lot of locations out there and become a household name, right? We can help with that. I mean, technology is one of those pieces, but it's an important piece. And I would bet if the brand went back and looked at dissatisfaction among those franchisees, I think technology is going to be right near the top, right? Because it's so important. So that's one thing. Don't put the franchisees in a position to have to do this themselves, right? Give them an option. If they choose to do it themselves, then fine, right? But give them that option where like, look, we got your back. These guys can help you with the technology piece. They've done thousands of locations. They know what they're doing. They can make your life easier. Now, that's the main thing is just don't put them in that position to do it themselves because that will lead to problems.
And how can folks get a hold of you?
Many ways. One, our website, mavenitinc.com. Maven IT was taken, of course. So you got to put the ink on the end. We're very, very active on LinkedIn. You can find our LinkedIn page, Maven IT, and you'll see our orange logo. You can't miss it. Um, we we do posts on social media every day, all day. We have a very active social media, and you can get to me through there. My phone number is actually on my LinkedIn page as well, and my email address. I'm not one of those people that hides that, so you can get a hold of me there. And then, if you want to call me, 248-781-4703. And my email address is just caldis, CALDIS, at mavenITinc.com. All those ways. And I do answer emails within 24 hours. So I will get back to you.
Charlie, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And for everybody else, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment for Charlie. And I'll make sure that he gets it. Until
Thanks,
the
Luke.
next time, stay safe and win every day.